we've decided to actually take the time that we think that this work deserves. So we've actually opted to take the components away that we're responsible for, complete them, and then integrate them, weave them together as a whole. So we're not, trying to finish everything here at Te Marae.
Because this time thing is trying to do it in one day when you don't know where it's going to lead you, and I think that's always the way those things are. Unless you're doing paint by numbers, it's a conversation. I think you start off and you might think you know where you're going to end up, but you don't. You never do. I'll make sure that it's good by me so that I can stand by it.
I'll take this back. Yep. I'll catch you later on.
All right, dude.
Yeah, I think we set out to achieve completing of work, but we achieved more than that. And in some ways, the work may not be complete, but for us, it's complete in that we've got a beginning together.
I knew in my heart that it was secondary. It was about a relationship, and to do this with Kura and to work along side by side, I think the piece speaks that we've achieved that relationship on a level of mutual respect for one another.
I've done the light parts of the work to balance the patterning and the symbolism, outlines, just linear. Up the top there we've got it with a curved top because it's symbolic of religion or a stained glass window format, and the middle image there is the sacred karaka tree that's here out there along the kaipātiki, just out the side here of the marae, and the branches are the row of welcome to manuhiri to this marae.
This pattern here, this is the manulua, and it's a symbol of religion or faith used in tongatapa. And these panels here, or this pattern here is references Lapita pottery. We're going right back, before the treaty, before the declaration, right back to how our ancestors travelled. I think it was a really pure process that we used to make this piece for nothing other than our response. It wasn't for, it was really nice to work as an artist, not for a commercial gain or anything like that. It was just purely to work. I just think the whole thing has been a great experience. Something, that I'll never forget anyway.
I think it's been a learning process at two levels. One about the treaty itself and the difference between what's called the treaty and te tiriti, and the importance our people place on the latter. And I think just having to collaborate with another artist has been a learning process as well. And the fact that it was on te tiriti and all the issues involved in that, I think made it in many ways a testing experience, but one that I believe they've come through really, really well.
The way forward for all of us is to understand one another, and to understand that not because we are one, but to understand that we are different. We must learn the Treaty of Waitangi, learn about the 1835 Declaration of Independence, and talk and talk and talk.
When we left Waitangi, Pip and I thought, maybe have another couple of hours to do, but he ended up coming to my studio and crashing on the couch for a couple of days. We just worked all night, and he cooked us curry, and it was real fun, and we ended up finishing it to a really good quality. It's called Te Pou Tuatahi, which is a word or a phrase that's also in the painting, in the lettering up here, and it basically is saying Te Pou Tuatahi, the first pou, is he whakaputanga, or the founding document of Aotearoa, which is actually the Declaration of Independence that was made in 1835. The other text of the painting is the treaty is a tauranga waka. Tauranga is a word for landing place, and waka can be metaphorically like a vessel. So in a sense, the treaty is our first immigration document, or the vessel that enabled people to come here. Now that it's completed, now that the whole project's completed, I feel sort of armed with new knowledge, and I feel very satisfied with the painting. I feel really happy having worked with Piap, and basically we've learnt so much, and we just wanted to share a bit of that in this work with other people.
You can actually tie them
straight to the pole.
because
That's a nice
straight to the
idea.
pole, even
And
if
then
it's in
they
the
can
middle.
go where you want them, eh?
You're going quite high.
That's a good to know. I was just going to have a look and see what they look like.
It almost needs just a little bit more muka at the top to dangle down, so just put a little bit more on there, and I think that's done.
Yep.
Great, hold on. We're there,
Sweet.
it's done.
That was easy.
You're right. Before we open the house, we need to come up with a name that encompasses the kaupapa of the house, and then actually declare its name publicly, so that opens it, and then it's lets us off the hook, because we're moving out of this state of tapu into more of the common realm of being no, and so that's why we need to look at what are we going to call this creation of ours.
Started off with the idea of the door, and I think the door as a symbol was a good, is still a good, strong metaphor for what has happened and what could happen, and who has control over the coming and going.
The idea of peace, and it was mentioned too at Te Marae, was the notion of tātou pounamu. So when you have like groups that have been at loggerheads with each other, and there's a pact for peace, the expression is tātou pounamu, the greenstone door, and it's a way that if you're going to enter through it, then you leave all that other stuff behind, and you carry on moving through.
No, I think I like that idea of kind of birthing it as such, giving it a name, and then being able to, it can have its own life.
All right. Ko te whare atu nei, ke te mihi ki a koe. Ko waito ingoa, ko tātou pounamu, whanno whana haramai te toki, haumie hui e tāki. It's done. Hopefully we're free. In the work itself, you can see obviously the house structure is there. It's a play on the Kiwi batch and architecture from a European perspective, a Pākehā perspective. The idea of occupation and creating lean-tos, and hence the canvas kind of lent itself quite easily to line the structure of the house. But the imagery that's painted here reflects also the idea of where we sit. How do we actually occupy this house here? And so these shapes here are playing on that idea of the chairs. There's references to, for Māori, the kawai moko, who has the speaking rights and the rights to the land and so on. So there's all an interplay, I guess, of the two cultures talking to each other. We also wanted to have a say for ourselves, and so we've divided the rest of the work up so that Mike is having his korero here, and I'm having mine on this side here.
What was interesting was what was offered and what was taken, what was offered by Māori and what was taken by Pākehā.
I boiled that down to using the words haere mai, haere mai, haere mai. That kind of goes off, but and the translation, the kind of take that Pākehā took on that was, oh well, here mate, have mine, have mine. That's the translation of the treaty. That's kind of what it does, I think. It was always going to be an experiment, so I don't think I had a firm idea of what I wanted to achieve. I thought it was going to be interesting to know how, as artists, you can collaborate, and especially as coming from different cultures. But I'm happy with how the piece hangs together. It's not one concise statement, but I think that's okay. There's a lot to say.
As we continue as a country to evolve, the role of the artist is to capture that evolution, and so our art will keep developing. So this is really a good milestone, and I just hope that through the work that other people might arrive at some of the ideas or the places that we found ourselves through this journey, this hikoi that we've been on.